We're live. We're live on the Direct E channel, you guys, and Street News Network, and Jim Freedom. What's up, folks?
What's going on? Good to see you. Hope you're having a wonderful Saturday.
Welcome.
We got a good one today. We're going to talk about some mainstream deception, eh?
Oh my
they
gosh,
would never allow.
I have a total of 9 people watching me right now. This is crazy, bro.
Oh my God. Oh my God, I'm blushing.
I know, I feel famous now.
I don't know what to do with myself.
We got 10 people watching. Oh my gosh. We're so popular. 17 people now. This is awesome. So
I'm trying to watch, but I'm forced to see an ad.
What would I even label this stream as? Dishonesty? No way.
No, never happened. Mainstream. Type 1 in the chat if you've ever heard of mainstream telling a lie or being dishonest.
Let's get a poll. We got 150 people in here. How many of you, like, let's say 1 is completely dishonest, 2 is I'm not sure, and 3 is I don't believe a thing that comes flying out of their mouth. So out of 1 to 3, where do you fall on the scale out of 165 people watching? 1, 2, or 3?
Do you trust mainstream media? That's a popular poll these days. It's probably trending right now on X.
There's a lot of 1s. What did I even say for 1? I don't even remember what I said for what was 1.
I think 1 was trusting them. 2 was you're not sure, and 3 was you don't believe a word they say.
Okay, so we do have some 1s coming in there.
They might have forgot what 1 means, and they're just hitting 1.
They're just hitting 1, yeah.
Yeah.
3 is completely dishonest. 2 is I'm not sure.
Right.
I said it backwards. No, you perceived it backwards. I defined how I wanted my scale chart to run, and you perceived it in a different way than I said it.
They're just used to people making 1 the answer that they want them to choose. We switch it around to force you to actually think and use your brain. Make sure you know what answer you're choosing. We don't want no mindless polls. We want to know people are knowing what they're choosing.
Motorized Misfit, what up? What up, everybody in the chat? Appreciate you guys coming in. So I don't know if those of you that don't follow me on X, you're missing out on things that happen with me in Arizona, Jim, political stuff. I post a lot of stuff on my personal X account under Christopher Ruff or Ruff Christopher. Jim Freedom can be found on there as well. And I've been posting about how Jim Freedom has been going to the Tempe Municipal Court to cover the criminal court proceedings of Austin Davis, who is the guy from one of my videos that I put out, AZ Hugs, where the cops were coming to the park and messing with this nonprofit organizer as he's trying to distribute food to the homeless. I put the video out a couple months ago, and there's been updates. He went from 4 charges when I made that video to 38 charges, 32 charges, some kind of ridiculous number. Obviously, when you get into court, they boil those down. They don't actually charge you with all those for the most part. But those have been boiled down, and he's still facing criminal charges with the loss of liberty up to 6 months in court. And Jim has been in court covering all that. Jim filed a motion to record all of the court proceedings in their entirety. It was granted by the judge. I don't remember pool cameras being brought up, but it got brought up recently. If you don't know what a pool camera is, that's a media camera that everybody's supposed to share, essentially, based on the courtroom rules. Now, it is not legally binding, and there's nothing that makes you have to share it. It's usually an agreement amongst ourselves as media on how we're going to distribute and share such things. We did make an agreement with 12 News that you can use our footage. We didn't ask for any money, didn't ask for nothing. All we asked was for credit on screen while the footage that we recorded on our cameras was used on their news broadcast. And for some reason, that was a big deal, and they didn't want to do it. Not only did they not want to do it, but they insulted Jim by lying to the public. Those of you that, complain and say that we make stuff up and all that kind of shit. Well, we caught the news doing it. The news falsified one of their fucking articles saying that they were the only reporters in the courtroom during Austin Davis's court hearings. And that's not true. And then they proceeded to play our company footage right after saying that, alluding to the fact that they recorded that. Now, it wouldn't be such a big deal, really, had they not given anybody credit. But they went so far as to give credit to pictures that flashed on the screen for a couple of seconds. They made sure to give the lady that was opposed to Austin credit, but they did not give the actual media company that was in there recording the court proceedings credit. The only footage that they used where they didn't credit us. And then they make it out to the judge like, we're not willing to share our footage with them, that we're being mean, essentially. But that's not true. We did agree to share our footage. They agreed to give us credit, and then they didn't do it. That's the problem. That was the problem. It's a slight. It's like a backhand slap in the face. Now, we could have just ignored it and gone on with our days, but that's not the kind of person I am. I'm not going to just let some shit like that slide. Even if it goes to the point of the judge kicking Jim out of the court, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to make a point about it.
That would have been a bad day to try to kick me out of court. I was worried about that when I went back to court. After all that had happened, I went back to court and they were already in the courtroom when I showed up. And I was like, oh man, I hope they didn't already get here and tell the judge to kick me out and replace me with them. I was like, that is not going to go well for anybody here. That's a special action waiting to happen right there. But of course he didn't. He figured out that he could just allow both cameras and do a special favor and everything would be all good.
Oh, the way they posed it was like, well, you're supposed to pool and you're not willing to pool. But that's not true. Prior to this, Phoenix New Times came in and wanted to record as well, and they were denied and told that they had to get footage from Jim. Later on that same day, I tweeted to Phoenix New Times and told them that if they wanted the footage, it's available. Just like when 12 News asked Jim for the footage, I told Jim, share with the news. The only thing we ask is give us credit. That was the only thing that I cared about.
Yeah, I should have included that tweet of yours previous offering New Times to share it.
It's not like we weren't willing to share. That's how they're making it seem, dude. That's how the news is painting it to the judge, and the way the judge worded things, regardless of whether or not he understands it, he worded it as if we were just not willing to share with him, which is not true. Right. I did share with him. That's why that footage, my footage, is still up on the fucking internet right now without credit for me, or you.
Right. Either one of us. Street News Network. Or Jim Freedom, I mean, how hard is that? Just to why would you make this much of a stink and go to a court and make a whole argument to a judge about wanting to be able to record separately when literally all you could have done was just take a few seconds to type 3 words in the upper right hand corner of a video and everybody would have been happy. We would have a great relationship with 12 News going forward. I don't know. Blows my mind. I don't know. I challenge anyone in the comments to give me another reason other than to insult me that it could, I can't think of any other reason to put that sentence in the teleprompter other than to insult me as a reporter personally. Like I've been thinking about it and I can't think of another reason why they would add that. What's the relevance of that to anything, other than to say, piss on that guy.
I mean, the news makes statements like that all the time. ABC 15 just did it recently. Excuse me. When they're talking about exposing the Phoenix Police Department, they're saying Dave Biscabine is the only reporter and he is. You know what I mean? They do that, but it just seemed weird that you had specifically asked. They got the fucking footage from us. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
There was
right. Right. Normally, when they say that, they're only showing Biscabeen's footage. You know, when they're claiming he was the only one there, they're usually only showing his stuff. In this case, obviously, they weren't. That's what was such a slap in the face about
it. And another thing that's been a slap in the face is the news has credited videos that they've used from ABC 15 has my permission to use my footage. They've had my permission to use any footage that goes up on the DirectD channel for years now. Like that's I gave it, dude. Like anytime that they've used my footage on the news, it said Christopher Ruff or DirectD on it.
That's crazy. Yep. Yeah. Crazy. So it's not a big deal. They should have just taken the time to do it, and they backed into a corner and relied on whining about the specificity of the rules.
The Washington Post gave me credit for who was on screen when it was their footage. You know what I mean? Right. So it's not something that's weird to ask for, you know, on-screen video acknowledgement or some shit like that. That's not weird, strange, out of the norm at all. Just because a bunch of mainstream corporate, you know, paper pushers think that that's the norm, like, bro, there's a reason that their demographics are falling off. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
People are not renewing their subscriptions. There was a report that came out about how Scripps News in Arizona is not renewing a new demographic. It's the older people that are 40, 50, 60 plus, that those are the only ones that are staying with the old school news. Everybody else is moving to online media sources. The Washington Post told me, they said, dude, you guys, your videos and your stories around police corruption run circles around the stuff that we do. And that's why we're out here. We want to interview you guys.
It's outstanding. Everybody knows the truth. It's just revealing more and more details of it actually happening because of the beautiful thing called the internet.
The only difference is we're not adding fillers. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, whole segments based on just footage of a puppy show.
Mm-hmm. So, you guys, let's watch some of this footage and listen to some of the phone call and get up to date on what's going on. It's actually quite interesting. You know, I honestly don't want to play this. I want to just play the phone call in itself. But this video is on Jim Freedom's channel, you guys. You should definitely go watch that.
It should be linked in the description if it's not all. Let's see if I can link it right now.
Yeah. Damn, I fell asleep with a bunch of podcasts playing last night, dude. There's like, holy shit, there's like 9 hours worth of shit on here that I didn't watch. I fell asleep listening to conspiracy theories and shit. Oh, I thought that fucking video was in my history. Let's see here.
I posted the link in my chat and in Street News Network's chat.
For your video?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So now I should be able to refresh my watch history. There it is.
I just was kind of, I don't know why that's not.
Okay. Bam.
This is, oh, you wanted, oh, okay.
No, keep your link.
This ain't
This
the
is
phone
just-
call.
Oh, it ain't. Where's the fucking phone call at?
I don't know, but this ain't that. It ain't that. I sent it. Oh, it's unlisted, ain't it?
Well, you can present it. You got it on one of them. What up, folks? We're trying to bring up the phone call with us or with Jim Freedom and 12 News.
Yeah, sorry for the delay. Isn't it showing?
Oh, actually, I got it. I got it. Don't worry. Don't worry.
All right, that's good because I'm having technical issues. I know I'm logged into Street News Network, but it's acting like I'm not when I go to try to open it in a new tab. Stupid technical stuff.
Yeah, I got it. We're gonna check out the inside of Jim's nostrils right now.
Oh boy. Well, you gotta click a few seconds, get them off of that. You guys don't want the trolls to have access. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. That's perfect.
There you go. You got one eye. You look all cracked out or something.
Nah, I'm telling you, I gotta stay simple just in case 12 News calls me now, like at all times. In case the government or 12 News calls me, I was looking rough. I was like, man, I just grabbed the camera and threw it in front of me like shit. It's funny. Yeah, I would be the person to talk to about. I assume you're calling to correct the video credit or whatnot.
Of course not.
I'm calling to address Mr. Christopher Ruff's tweet, which is why I wanted to speak with him.
I'm calling to address Mr. Christopher Ruff's tweet. That's why I was calling to speak with him.
I know, like, oh, you want to pretend I don't exist either?
You called Jim Freedom. You didn't call me.
Yeah, you called my phone. You want to talk to him? Call his phone. Well, what's his number? How the hell did you get my number, bitch? She never did. I never did ask her. Oh,
she
yeah,
got it from the. Yeah.
Get kind of a little game of telephone, if you will.
Oh, okay. Well, let's start with what you understand, what your understanding is then, I guess. And if you have questions for Mr. Ruff, I'll do my best to answer in his representation.
Let's be clear, everybody that's watching and anybody else that this might pertain to. Jim Freedom has 100% grounds to speak for and represent Street News Network without speaking to me first. He knows the game. He knows the rules. He understands the policies that he signed. He don't have to talk to me.
I saw his tweet. Let's see. I don't see his tweet. Okay.
I was just making sure the camera was recording.
I tried to be nice to the mainstream media. Was he present yesterday?
No, it was just me.
Yeah, no, it was just Jim Freedom because Christopher Ruff has warrants, and some of those warrants were signed by Mr. Magistrate Judge Kevin Kane.
He represents the company that I work for, Street News Network.
Oh, is he an attorney?
No, he's the owner, one of the owners.
Oh, okay. So when you say he represents, you just mean
he's my boss. He's my boss at Street News Network. I don't know what the verbiage is.
Okay.
He owns Street News Network, and he sends me to places to record things. You know, I'm a reporter that works for him.
Okay, got it. Okay, so I guess I just wanted to address and make sure that you guys were familiar then with the cameras in court policy under Rule 122 for the Arizona Judicial Branch.
Sorry for pausing it, but it just seems like we're getting a call from a lawyer or somebody affiliated with the government. Like, this isn't a business that's trying to call us because they used our footage and didn't do what they agreed to and potentially want to apologize for being misleading and deceptive to the public. No. They're calling to make sure that we understand the rules of the court. This is a flex on what they see as wannabe journalists and YouTubers. Just to be clear for you guys, this is not how companies that have respect for each other deal with each other. This is a 100% flex on trying to flex on us. Pay attention.
And if you want me just to send it to you, that's fine. But
You want me to send you the rules?
Understanding regarding the number of recording devices and pool cameras, based on his message, the only media company that the court has permission to video record is Street News Network. Don't ask us for our footage again. You just burn your bridge. You know, I hate to see something like that, but just so that we're clear, the typical standard.
Just so we're clear. Now, remember, this is not how you talk to somebody that you have respect for, mutual respect or this is not how you talk to another business or one of your equals, because whether or not they like it, we are their equal.
Standard for the courts is that any request, the presumptive limits are one microphone and one video camera and one still camera, and that if a judge approves the request by more than one, then they're to pool their resources. So I think that Bianca did try to talk to you about this. There's typically not a credit in those agreements. I understand if you guys haven't done a ton of these, but we do court pools on a near daily basis.
More insulting words. I understand if you guys haven't done a ton of these, but we do it on a daily basis. You couldn't get any more fucking snotty talking like that.
Exactly.
12 News, if you're watching, you shouldn't have your people call another company, regardless of how big they are, and talk down to them like you're doing right now.
Exactly.
And just because of the way that Fox and 15 and CBS and we all work together, we don't credit. So because we're just constantly sharing.
So because all the big corporations work together, and we have decided amongst ourselves that we don't have to give each other credit, that same logic applies to you, even though we don't consider you part of the media or even journalists. So we're not going to give you credit. Or I didn't have no agreement with none of you not to give me credit. Or Jim Freedom. I'm pretty sure he didn't agree to not give him credit. That's why our news company operates a little bit differently. The news, my media company, makes $0 from anything that it does. Absolutely. It actually costs me money to employ this guy. So we got a little bit of different perspective here. The news that we put out is free. There are no donors. There's nobody pulling strings on what we put out. And you have to give us credit and not insult us in a phone call that you think is private.
Obviously, when smaller outlets get involved as well, or outlets like yourself that aren't, commonly involved in this, I'm more.
So we're not even considered smaller outfits. We're outfits that are not even commonly involved. She didn't even have a fucking word for it.
Right.
More than happy to answer questions, or our guests or any of our managers would be willing to do the same.
Well, let me.
What were you going to say, Jim? I heard you say something.
No, I was just agreeing.
Oh.
Interject if I may. A couple things.
If we get camera permission, we'd still share it with you, and I believe the court would direct you to also share it with anyone who requested it. So I just wanted to clear the air on that regard, and that's kind of like.
I wanted to jump on her right then about that. I was like, did she just say what I think she said? Like, I would be forced to share that footage? I was like,
yeah,
I'll address that in a minute. I was like, in my mind, I was like, I'm not even sure if I heard that correctly, because that's.
And I'm sure the court would direct you to share your footage as well.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to clear the air on that. You didn't clear the air. You were not being nice. This is completely fucking disrespectful and rude. You're calling and trying to strong arm or bully somebody into doing something by using references to court rules and scaring somebody with a judge. But unfortunately, we already know about the courts and the judges and their authority and the extent of it, and you're wrong.
100%.
I've got.
Okay, I understand. Do you care to hear my side of it, or are you just calling to tell me?
I think I've got your side based on this tweet. If there's anything really specific you want to get into, I'm always happy to hear you out. Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Well, as far as I was concerned, from what I was understanding, I was asked by Bianca if I would share my footage. And of course, I was willing to do that if I asked her if I would get video credit. And she had to call someone, and she called someone and came back and said, yes, they said they would give video credit to Street News Network. And she even told me to put it at the top right part of the screen. And on that note, there are some video, there's a picture credit. You give the name picture credit of somebody else in the same story that gives you a picture that you used of theirs. You gave them credit for who gave that picture. But anyways, like I say, it just rubbed me wrong how she told me that she was going to be giving me credit. And not only did she not give me credit, the report itself quoted that no other reporters were present in the courtroom that day. I mean, I don't know why you would add that except to insult me as a reporter, as the reporter who took the time out of his day to go into that courtroom and make that physical recording to be able to share with you. I don't get a simple credit for that contribution. And not only that, you're going to say that I wasn't even there. I don't even exist. You know, that's pretty insulting, in my opinion, if you ask me.
I hate that you felt insulted. I really do. You know, and I know that was never her intention or ours. I think that, again, it just seems like a pure misunderstanding, and it was taken down from our, website, obviously.
So we understand that there was a misunderstanding about whether or not Jim Freedom was in the court, but we don't understand that there was a misunderstanding about whether or not you agreed to give us fucking credit before you made your news post and then did not give us credit. Why say you're going to do something and then not fucking do it?
Right. Why wouldn't they have just told me right there on the sidewalk, well, no, we're not going to give you credit because we don't credit pool cameras, but you're obligated. The rule 120, why wouldn't they have tried to say rule 122 compels you to share that footage? Why wouldn't they have mentioned that right there? You know what I mean? Because they knew that was just the easiest way to get my footage, and they knew what they were going to do with it later and not give me credit, not give us credit.
Bro, it's mind blowing. It's just funny. And then the complete snarky, I know more than you, probably calling from the legal team, but it's funny how people think that they've got lawyers, and then when you start hearing the lawyers actually talk, you understand that they don't actually know what they're talking about, and their interpretations of things are not how they usually go in court.
Right. They learn as they go.
For the most part. I have a lot of experience with a lot of fucking lawyers, dude, and it's not very often that I run into a lawyer that's worth the money that they're making. Not very often.
That comment, and to that degree, again, I'll just reference, that the pooled camera is treated a little differently, and I think maybe there was a misunderstanding as far as what you described is how we often courtesy something that comes in. We call it like UGC, right? Like user generated content, which in-house is different from a camera pool feed, which is described under Rule 122. And I think that sounds like it was a misunderstanding. And for the misunderstanding, absolutely, we want to clear the air. And I apologize.
So really.
You notice that there is absolutely no apologies happening right now. And for the misunderstanding, we just want to clear the air.
Yeah. Well, she did say she apologized at the end of it. But to me personally, the way, like, you almost don't even notice it. I didn't notice it till like the fourth or fifth time I watched my own video. The way she said it right there, she was like, we just wanted to clear the air, and I apologize. Like, the way she said it was so nonchalant and it didn't sound like an apology. I apologize. Like, that's what I'm supposed to say, right? You know what I mean? Like, those are the magic words to make you go away, right?
It was probably the legal team you get a hold of there. I don't know.
Yeah. Really quick, just to be clear, are you saying that because of Rule 21, 121, I would be 122, excuse me, I would be legally obligated to share that footage with you, and you don't have to give me video credit? Is that what you're saying?
That is how I read it, and that is how we've understood it.
That is how I read it, and that is how our legal team, team. Yeah, I think it's your legal team, and your legal team does not understand what they're reading because they don't understand the difference between what a rule is and what law is. Law is obligating. Rules are not. Rules are designated for certain individuals. Judges are not legislators. Judges cannot create laws. This is why it's called a rule and not an Arizona revised statute. But it's just funny that they say that it's legally obligating under their understanding based on how they read it. Like, oh my gosh, this is
right.
Embarrassing if this was a lawyer or part of the legal team calling you. That's all I got to say. 12 News, if this was part of your legal team or a lawyer that called him, I hope you're not paying her very much. If it wasn't a lawyer, then I understand.
If a judge approves a request by more than one person to cover a proceeding, those persons must pool their resources. That's what's written on the cameras in courts under Arizona Courts.gov Judicial Branch Rule 122.
Oh, look at that. We brought up the internet website. We can quote websites. You must pool your resources. You must pool your resources.
It is vital.
And then that's why the second part says that, you have to work out disputes amongst yourselves. So a dispute would be whether or not we give each other credit. The dispute was worked out prior to the video being used. There was no denial of them using the footage. I want to clarify this because it seems the judge thinks that we just are not going to share with them and that they don't have to give us credit. Mind blowing. Mind blowing. Copyright Act of 107. Section 107. Check that out. That's federal shit that says that you do have to give us credit if we ask for it, and then we give you the original copies.
So my understanding is and has always been about pool feeds that there must pool their resources to limit the recording devices in a courtroom. So that's just, again, like I said, I wanted to speak with you, and I, wish we could have done this yesterday, but I didn't happen.
She wanted to speak with Chris.
If you want to that or along or share that with Christopher, that's fine. Yeah, obviously moving forward, we would certainly share with any media outlet that requests the pool coverage, and that pretty much stands for, just so that for your own awareness, like that's any courtroom that approves a camera under the Arizona State Judicial Branch.
Just for your own awareness, just so you know. Just for your own awareness, just so you know, this is how it works. This is how it works. You fucking snotty little. Ugh.
I know. I wanted to point out in my video, or I thought after I posted it, it was something else that I should have added, was to reiterate to all of the YouTubers out there, all the YouTube channels, that basically you can go look up or go to any court that's happening in your area, and if a news station, one of your local news stations is covering it, you can have that news station give you their footage so that you can use it on your channel, like their actual footage, instead of screen recording it, whatever. You know what I mean? That's what they're saying.
When something is legally obligating, there's a form of recourse. So let's say that they did kick you out there. She's claiming here that it's legally obligating, but if they ended up kicking you out, letting 12 News in there, and then you told 12 News, I want that footage, and they just told you no, they said they wouldn't, but let's just hypothetically say that they would say no. What's your recourse? Right. How do you get the footage from them? It was recorded on their company cameras. It was recorded onto their SD drives. It was put into their computers. It's their fucking footage, and you don't have any claim or right to it. Just like you don't have any claim or right to ours. Right. There is no legal thing that you can do. The only thing that is outlined in the rules is that somebody that is denied recording, which could have been 12 News or you, can file a special action in the Superior Court to get access to the courtroom and record yourself. Special action is not going to make 12 News give you fucking access to the footage.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's so dumb that they believe this kind of shit. What's your form of recourse? You know what I'm saying? You're saying you must, you may, you have to do it. How the fuck are you going to get it from me if I don't?
Right.
You can't sue me for it. You can't take me to civil court for it. You don't have any standing. Does your legal team understand what standing is in court? You have to have standing to be able to bring a civil suit. You have to be able to state a claim. You can't state a claim. You have no claim over what's recorded on my business's cameras. You could try to subpoena it, but that would only be for a criminal case.
Right.
You understand how this shit works, lawyers? I hope you're watching, lawyers. Let's finish the phone call.
Branch. So that's moving forward, how that part works. Again, it sounds like there was a miscommunication and misunderstanding. And for those things, I'm glad that we talked.
Sure. Okay. So the story's been pulled. You're not going to do a revision on it and re-release it or anything?
The story, to clarify, the story has not been pulled. The intro where they mistakenly said there was no other reporter in the courtroom has been removed.
Oh, that has been removed.
That has been removed from our online platform.
Okay, I will check into that. But you're still you don't feel compelled, or it wouldn't be something you would be willing to do to give the small guy video credit?
I'll chat with our folks about this again. Just that's just the weird thing about pool camera is like we just don't credit pool camera because of the way that the rules are structured. So it could be worth more of a discussion here on.
See, there's a contradiction in what she's been saying. So she said traditionally we ABC 15 and us, we just don't credit because it's a pool camera. And now she's completely blaming the non-crediting on the way the rules are structured.
The way the rules are structured, exactly.
Yeah, which has nothing to do with crediting a company for work that they produced.
Right.
Courtroom rules have no bearing on that kind of situation. It is not a courtroom issue. What the fuck? It's like they're trying to say, like a judge would tell you, oh, you can't file that motion right now. We're not at that point in the case. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What the fuck does this have to do with anything?
On this end. But, again, it's not.
Well, I'll tell you this, for what it's worth, obviously you're paying attention on X, on Twitter, and those things do have an impact. I understand that. I think that's why he's so adamant and quick to go to Twitter when he has an issue,
So if he had just called, we also would have paid attention to a voicemail or email.
Well, in that regard, I actually physically went down to the 12.
If I would have just called, why the fuck do I have to call? I have an employee that you dealt with. You guys made an agreement. I have nothing to do with what happened other than to wake up in the morning and see how slighted my company and my reporter was. Why do I have to call you? There was already an agreement made. We already worked out our disputes per the rule that your person called and quoted to Jim Freedom. We already had worked out our disputes. You agreed to give us credit, and then you didn't do it. And then you lied to the public that watches your news and told them that you were the only journalist in the courtroom, followed up by footage that was recorded by Jim Freedom. Why the fuck would I call you? I'm gonna expose what you did. I'm not gonna fucking call you. It wasn't an accident.
They would not have liked you calling them also.
Oh no, because I would have got nasty on the phone and I would have recorded it and made them look even dumber had I made the phone call. I would have tried to get in touch with your legal department is what I would have done, and then made your legal department look stupid as fuck.
Yeah. YouTube user says their phone number doesn't even ring. I point that out to her here in a minute. You'll see. And that to me is worth reminding people of. Listen to how she says it. Oh, she hesitates, but she ends up saying that all those voicemails are BS voicemails. Like that's a number they give to people they want to ignore, basically. That it's a call center that filters calls, screens calls.
Listen to her wording. If they give you this number and say, oh yeah, put your news tip in or your story tip into this phone number, listen to what this person says about the messages that are left. Oh yeah, stupid voicemails.
12 news station, and the guard gave me a little ticket with a phone number on it, which I called and I couldn't get a hold of anybody. It just keeps going straight to voicemail. I couldn't get a single ring out of it.
When was that?
Today, a couple hours ago.
Okay, thank you for letting me know about that. I will absolutely look into where those voicemails have gone. Did it say it was full, or were you allowed?
No, I'm sorry. I didn't actually end up leaving a voicemail. I was planning on calling back and leaving a voicemail, but I was just trying to contact somebody directly, so I kept calling back and it kept going straight to voicemail without ringing. So I thought that was strange.
Okay. Was it 444-1212?
Yeah.
Yeah. We get those. We get those via voicemails typically.
We get those BS voicemails typically. The fuck does that mean?
She literally goes on to talk about how it's a service of some kind that they pay for that screens calls. It's an automated thing.
But I'll let them know that it doesn't even ring. That might be weird. We just have it's called Ring Central. I don't know. It's Ring calls. To get voicemails, and then we can read the transcripts and tell people that.
See, so did you say you would have you would push that conversation along about getting video credits?
Oh wow!
She literally just said it records the voicemails, and then we can read transcripts.
Wow.
That's it. So they're reading transcripts and then they probably have a filter set so that only a few transcripts even make it through the filter to get printed for them to see.
Yeah.
They probably have to use keywords.
They wanted me to call and leave a transcript for them.
Yeah.
Motherfucker, I'll just go to Twitter and get your attention like that.
Right.
Don't do nothing shady, and I won't have to publicize that shit online. I'm sure you weren't happy about that. I know you weren't happy about that based on everything that I've seen so far. I know for a fact you weren't happy about that shit, and you shouldn't be, because you did some wrong there, and you shouldn't have. That's why you redacted your original post that said that you were the only journalist in there. It no longer says that anymore.
Yep. And they wouldn't have changed that. They wouldn't have changed that had you not tweeted and had we not done something about that.
Oh fuck no, they wouldn't have. They don't care.
To see if you guys would be able to help me out in that way, help my company out.
I can't make any guarantees on that, and I'll just let you know. In pool camera situations, we just typically don't. So I'm not sure what it would take, but I'll definitely bring it back up.
Yeah. Tell them it's a one-time favor.
But please don't. I'm not. I certainly can't guarantee that.
Yeah, obviously you're not making any promises. All I'm asking is that you actually open your mouth and have the conversation with the relevant person. Just don't be afraid to at least say at one time that, hey, there's somebody that would like video credit, and maybe say we should do it.
And I'll just let you know that we have put in a camera request for this upcoming, and in the event that we get it, we'll share it with you, and no privacy.
For the upcoming on Thursday?
I believe that's what I was told, that we put in a request.
Okay, well, I know that my motion was it filed at the beginning of his very first oral arguments, and I requested to be able to record the entirety of the case. So I'm pretty sure I'll be there, and I'll be, Judge Kane has been working with me. I'm sure he's just going to say, Jim Freedom's been doing it, and he's been doing a good job. So I feel like he's going to just let me keep doing it. So it would go a long way to get video credit put on that video for us to help us work with you in the future. And like I said, I know you pay attention to Twitter. It would go a long way towards getting Christopher to start tweeting how well you guys are to work with if you start doing things like that. You know what I mean? It could benefit you in that way. Just saying.
I hear you.
She hears me,
Yeah.
but it doesn't matter. So the mainstream media feels like the only kid that's allowed in the sandbox. They're the corporate part of mainstream media here in Arizona and across the nation is in a place of denial. Mainstream media has been dying off slowly but surely for a long time. How many times you guys see newspapers on your street anymore nowadays? Not very often. You do, but it's not very often. When I was a kid, newspapers were everywhere. That's where my parents got most of their news at, or they got it on the TV. There was no YouTube. There was no TikTok. There was no Instagram. There was nothing. And now all this shit's exploded. Anybody with a camera is a journalist. Anybody with a camera is a news station. Anybody with an opinion is practicing the First Amendment. They're not understanding these things or these concepts, and they consistently slight and degrade smaller news companies or journalists that they feel don't have the accolades that they did because they went to college and learned professional journalism and ethics and blah 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 blah. It doesn't mean anything now. The shit doesn't mean anything now. I've got almost as many subscribers as 12 News does. Within the next couple of months, I probably come up to them or pass them. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? The only place where they're gaining ground is on X and Twitter, and that's because I wasn't paying attention to that side of things. But I am now, and I'm at almost 1,100 followers. If you want to find me, it's Christopher Ruff. You have to look up Christopher Ruff on X, and you can see all the posts. You can see that we were originally posting about all this before we went live here on X. So that's what I'm trying to do is grow that shit, grow my media company, and bring up other journalists that are not corporately affiliated with me while I'm doing it. Jim Freedom works for Street News Network, but he's his own man. That YouTube channel is his. He puts stories on his channel before that we do anything with it. He gets to make all the profit, the money, and get the recognition for the work that he does before I use any of the shit. It's a completely different concept for the news. They're about controlling their anchors and their journalists and what they can and cannot say. And I mean, there are limitations, obviously, but Jim doesn't have any limitations. You want to go on a conspiratorial rant about how the federal government's got it out for Donald Trump and you're this giant Trump supporter? I don't give a fuck who you support. I know you don't, but if you did, I wouldn't
Thank you
give
for
a
clarifying.
I know you don't, but I don't care, dude. I mean, like these people are so politically and monetarily driven that they're losing sight of why they have these giant news organizations and the money behind them from the beginning. It's a business now. It's not about keeping people informed. It's not about exercising your rights or being the balancing factor of the government. That's what the news is supposed to be. It's supposed to balance out the power of the government.
Right. Supposed to.
Giving the people information to give them, insight into how they should vote, the things that they should allow to happen. Slowly over time, the mainstream media has been manipulating that to the point of being called fake news or propaganda. They did it to themselves by getting politically involved with a whole bunch of shit that they shouldn't have gotten involved with, by allowing government officials to infiltrate their companies and pump out stories that the government approves, by lying about shit that happened in Iraq, by lying about the Contra scandal. You know what I'm saying? Everything has been fictitious for 20, 30, 40 years.
Yep. Yep. And this one, in this particular case, I just thought of a reason that it could be, it's a little bit conspiratorial, but the other reason they could say no other reporters were there in court to just subliminally, so people won't be looking for any other resources on that story. They'll think, oh, well, this is the only place I'm going to find this information. So let me find out what's happening. And we all know that they did a detrimental story to Austin, pointing out, using witnesses, pointing out things that had nothing to do with the legal situation that was being presented. They said, look, there's a legal situation. And then they did witnesses. I mean, that's what they do, but that's what they did in this case. And that's,
it's a manipulation factor. So the city understands that this case is getting big. There's been several other news organizations involved, not just 12 News, ABC 15, Fox has been there. I think AZ Central, I'm not sure. There's been a couple other bigger news companies in Arizona that have been there covering this. The courtrooms are always packed. There's, barely standing room is from what I'm told.
Yeah.
And it's getting a lot of attention. So what happens in situations like this is there's somebody in the government, in the city, usually, or in the police department that's close with these organizations, and they give them a little call. They say, hey, we need you to come down here and do a story about this fucking guy that's handing out food and trashing the parks. They don't even have to manipulate anything. They just pose them how they want the story spun, and they come and they do it exactly like that. Because I've seen the footage of them interacting with people and talking to Jim and talking to Austin and making it seem like, oh, we're on your side, bud, we got you. And then when the story comes out, that's not the perception of it. You can say, oh, you're spinning it wrong all you want. And they'll be like, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. We told blah, 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 blah. It's the perception, the way you perceive something. If you this is a science. This was designed, you guys. If you take a clip of a guy doing this, and you change and you flip to another clip and there's an apple there, you think, oh, he's hungry. But if the same guy doing this and then you flip to a picture of a woman, now you start thinking creep. It's perception. It's using images and words to make you perceive the things that they want you to perceive without overtly manipulating your thoughts. Does that make sense? It's science that the news and propaganda machine of the government has been using for a long time. I mean, I understand it very, very well. I use the same concepts in my fucking videos. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. You should clip that last 60 seconds and put that up as a short, because that was a really good description of reality, in my opinion.
That's what they do. It's all about perception. Your reality, it's you see somebody's face and then you look at what they're looking at, and you will have an opinion on that person and what they're doing based on what they're looking at. Are they looking at something that they might be hungry, or are they looking at a woman where you might start thinking, pervert, weirdo, why are you staring at her like that? But if he's making the same expression at an apple, you ain't thinking that. It's perception. It's the manipulation of your thought processes done with images and words. It's very easy to do. It's very easy to understand. The CIA does it. The FBI does it. The federal government does it. Local municipalities does it. The mainstream media does it. Anything you read and text, it's all done in that. It's a science. Just like advertising is a science. You know, the menu, when you go to a restaurant, it's scientifically laid out to where your eyes are going to go to first based on how big it is, the kind of text that's written there. And usually it's the most expensive shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, usually so.
There's a reason all the snacks are put at the checkout when you're checking out from the store. You know, if you spend an hour checking out and then you go through the checkout, might be a little hungry and you see a bunch of candy and snacks and a bunch of goodies and shit it's not that expensive. It's right here. Let me just throw it into my pile. It's advertising science. It's manipulation science. It's everything. It's good to understand these kinds of things, because then you won't be affected by it and you can see through it when it's happening. That's why I'm fucking talking about it.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people, your brains are foggy. You're clouded, and you can't discern, what you're intended to perceive here. What are you reading?
I was trying to go through some of the comments. They move so fast when you're streaming to 3 different places. Subliminally fucking with me. They keep subliminally fucking with me. Repeating words. Is this what MK Ultra was all about? MK Ultra is like the end game of it. Like that was more specifically direct control type shit. MK Ultra was. This is more subliminal. You're talking about right now.
That was dosing people with acid and trying to get them to do shit.
Right. All kinds of crazy shit.
Killing somebody. The government has done so much dirty shit, it's not even funny, bro. Chemical tests on inmates, chemical tests on towns, on low-income populations. They'll spray the air. They've dropped bombs. And, the U.S. government has dropped bombs on American citizens on American soil. Fucking people think we're crazy. We're the bad guys. We're beating up the heroes with our videos and shit, bro. It's just mind-blowing. Like, dude, these people, like most Americans have no concept of the reality that is America. You know what I'm saying? The evil shit that we have done around the fucking world. And then, they want to come in and oh, you're being meat. You're just being meat. They're heroes. They keep you safe.
Stuff that's going on right now, like when you open the door and you actually see the reality of all the different facets of all the corruption and everything that's going on. It's a scary reality.
Yeah, they tested shit on Army. They tested not just Army. They tested shit on every branch of the military.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
They're still doing it. I have friends that were in recent conflicts that were overseas and were given injections and all kinds of weird shit that they didn't know what the fuck they were being given. They were told that it was stuff for, the possible diseases that you could get, malaria, whatever's available over there that we wouldn't have any
syphilis or something.
Something.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
Yeah. That's what.
Yeah, guys. We've been live for almost an hour. I'm gonna end up cutting this out here. I'll give a couple more minutes to answer some chats if Jim, you see anything you want to respond to. But right at about the hour mark, I'm gonna end the live stream. Appreciate you guys watching. Definitely go back and listen to that if you didn't understand what you were listening to. It's just layer after layer of we're better than you. We don't have to share. We don't have to do nothing. Not that we don't have to share, but we don't have to give you credit. Making sure that we understand that we think that we're better than you. That's what a psycho does because a psycho doesn't realize that they're psycho. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's why like you'll get tests and shit from the government or like these A, B, C, how mad are you, right? That kind of shit. Like if you've ever gone through any kind of stuff like that, it's designed to point out the psycho. And then you ask people like, oh, are they really asking me this and expect me to answer this way? And you got to think to yourself, a psycho doesn't know that they're psycho. So they're going to answer that shit the way that they think that they should answer it. They don't know that they're answering it wrong. You know what I mean?
Right. It's crazy. Largest illegal experiment of all time was the Vidco. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that either.
So
informative, guys. We try to be informative. Try to make my videos entertaining and informative.
I've seen a helicopter spraying over Tacoma, Washington at night before. Daniel Rice said, "That's gross. Could be
30
anything."
Seconds.
I've seen trucks in the Midwest driving. I remember freaking out the first time I saw trucks in the Midwest driving around, spraying that fog. It's mosquito stuff, but they literally just drive through the neighborhood, and it's a huge fog, man. It's nasty looking. It dissipates, obviously, relatively quickly, but it looked crazy to me. Like, man, they're poisoning everybody right now. Get some masks. I was like, what's going on? A biological warfare. It was crazy. And they were like, no, don't be ridiculous. That's just mosquito repellent. I was like, that's what they want you to think. I was tripping, but you know, when I did a little more reading and found out it was actually normal, I was like, man, my mind was blown. Shit looks so unclean. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming up and chatting about this.
Oh yeah.
If you missed the whole live stream, then you're gonna have to go back and watch it. But other than that, you guys, appreciate you coming in and sticking around. Later.
Hell yeah.